Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we're going to be doing some really simple no-line watercolouring using some watercolour pencils. Now this is a really easy technique to do, especially if you are new to watercolouring. So I'm going to use a really pretty stamp set, and this is the Build-A-Flower Paeonia Japonica stamp set. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this really large image and I'm going to stamp this onto some watercolor paper. Now because we're doing no line watercolor, I'm using the lightest ink that I do have, and this is the Vanilla Cream. So if you have a really light ink, that's probably best to use. So I'm stamping this twice onto my watercolor paper because I do want two of these large images for my card. So again, I'm just going to turn that paper around and then ink my stamp up and then stamp that into place onto that paper. So once I have that, I have my two images. I'm then going to go ahead and start colouring in. Now I'm using the new watercolour pencils from Altenew, and this one is the Coral Bliss. And this is a really simple technique. All I'm doing is I'm going to draw around the lines that are already there. So I'm adding my beautiful Coral Bliss around the outside edge of this petal, and then some of the maple yellow just at that base of that petal to give it a different colour as well. So I'm just going to use a wet paintbrush to get rid of those lines, and I'm then going to take some pigment from the actual pencil itself. So it's really easy to do. All you need to do is have a wet paintbrush, and then you can just pick up some of that colour straight from the tip of the pencil. A really great way to use these, and it's very clean as well. So I'm just going to do another petal. Now this one, I'm again adding the Coral Bliss to the top of that petal, and then some of the maple yellow to the bottom. And then once I've done that, I can then take some ink or some pigment from that pencil with a lot of water, and I'm just going to move that around. So I'm kind of getting rid of the lines that are there, pulling those in a little bit, and then just painting away with some added extra pigment from the pencil. So I'm just going to keep going with this technique. Now all I'm doing is I'm kind of tracing the image that's already there. We already have the lines. I'm just going over them and then adding some water and a little bit more pigment just to add that colour in. As you can see, I am swapping over to the different images. I'm also not painting petals that are next to each other unless they are dry. So I will be checking they are dry before I paint next to them, because if I do paint two petals that are wet next to each other, the ink from each of them will spread into the other petals. And because we want the no line watercolor effect, you want to make sure that the petal is dry before you move on to the next. So I'm just going to add a little bit of music in now so you can see how these petals and flowers come to life. So once I've finished with my beautiful flowers, I'm then going to move on to the leaves. You may want to check your greens on the side of your cardstock, but the greens that I am going to be using is the Grass Field, then the Shadow Creek, and also some of the fresh lemon. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm going to draw around these leaves using the Grass Field pencil. I'm adding in all of the lines, so I'm going around the edges, then I'm going into those veins too. I'm adding the darkest Shadow Creek to where it's going to be darkest on my petal, and then just a touch of that yellow colour to the tip of the leaf. Once I've done with this, I can then take a wet paintbrush and I'm just going to go over that whole image, and it's just going to kind of draw it itself together. It's really quick and easy, and I think this is a really great way to get a no line effect with leaves. the leaves are done, I can then move on to the flower centers. So I'm using some of the orange cream and I'm just adding circles into the centers of the flowers. I'm then going to add a touch of that maple yellow again just to the center of the circles. I can then take my wet paintbrush to move the pigment around. I then decided I wanted to add a little bit of green, so I'm just using the grass field just to add a touch of that from the pencil itself. So once they're all nice and dry, I can then go ahead and fussy cut out these images. So I'm just leaving a thin white line just to speed down the cutting on this one. I'm then going to play around with how these are going to look onto my card. I'm taking one of the sentiments again from that same stamp set, and I'm using my Obsidian ink just to stamp that into place onto my card base. Once that's in, I can then put some foam tape on the back of our fussy cut pieces. Anything that overhangs, don't worry about that, we can sort that later on. Once I'm happy with the position, that's when you're going to pop your little foam tape on and then pop them into place. It's really great to have a play around with your composition before you do commit to this. So once all of the pieces have been stuck, I can then turn my card over to trim off any overhanging pieces from behind. There were a couple of pieces that I could then use to fill in some gaps, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take this little bit of leaf that we have. Again, I'm going to add some more of the foam tape behind it and then pop that into place. Using the overhanging pieces for extra pieces is a great way to stretch what you've already done. So once that's done, here is the card complete. I really do hope that you like the card and that you've enjoyed the video as well. I hope you like the technique, really easy to use a no-line style using the watercolor pencils. Do you already own and use watercolor pencils? If you do, please let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques, and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.